Prince Harry and Meghan Markle officially lost their A-list status. Hello everyone, welcome back to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we are talking about Harry and Meghan's appearance, their first public-ish appearance at Ellen DeGeneres and Portia Rossi's recent vow renewal. It was technically Portia's birthday party. And so Harry and Meghan were there. We saw them on the camera as they did this surprise vow renewal. Apparently Ellen didn't know about it. And so it was just very interesting to see them there. And it just got me wondering and curious. Have Harry and Meghan really lost whatever minimal A-list status they have? Because if you look at somebody like Ellen, yes, Ellen used to be A-list, but really she's lost a lot of her A-listness as well. And because of these bullying allegations, which Meghan has been tacked with as well, they're very much bullies of a feather flock together, if that's a phrase. So I just thought that was very, very interesting. And I think it's indicative of how Harry and Meghan, despite them being in California, despite them being royals, that they are very much still, in many ways, second-class citizens. Yes, they get invited to some parties, but definitely not all of them. And so we'll be discussing a little bit of this today. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I provide compelling royal commentary on the latest news and sometimes a little bit of gossip too. I've been a royal watcher for over 10 years, and I'm a historian as well, so I have a lot of general knowledge about what goes on within royal circles. I also will be reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit about history too. So if you guys are interested in subscribing, feel free to hit that button down below. I would love to have you back. In addition, I have a trip to London and the Cotswolds coming up. If you're interested in traveling with me, I'll have a link down below. I also have a fashion channel, and I also have a newsletter, Royal Wire. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to go ahead and follow the links. Again, I would love to have you. And like I said, Harry and Meghan, I think this video will be a bit shorter than my usual ones, and I feel like that's okay. But Harry and Meghan have been you could say almost hiding since Harry's memoir Spare was released. Specifically Meghan, we've seen some of Harry. Obviously he did his press tour, and there were a couple of paparazzi photographs that we got of him. But in addition, we also have Meghan being persona non grata. She's not anywhere. And many people were thinking that was kind of weird because Harry and Meghan are attached at the hip 9/10 of the time. They cannot not hold hands. If they're not holding hands, the universe will implode and end. It is just absolutely detrimental if they're not holding hands. So that Meghan wasn't on this tour with Harry raised a lot of eyebrows. And there was actually a very interesting article, gosh, I want to say it was the Telegraph. And they were talking about how Meghan apparently is so worried about articles about So this is her two-handed death grip on Harry. That they walk around, not only does she hold his hand, she holds his arm too. As if, you know, to make sure he doesn't make a break for it, that she can have two arms to hold him back. So Meghan apparently is very aware of that criticism. And the solution is not to stop doing the thing that is triggering the articles. No, 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 no. The solution is to disappear so that people don't know where you are, and so that you're not hovering around him. And I did think it was weird when Harry did some of his interviews. Obviously none of them were at their Montecito home, which I find deeply, deeply surprising because that would be a great location to have it. But again, I think it goes all back to this control mechanism. Meghan did not like how the cut article went down. So this was a article that she did, well, she didn't do. This was an article that covered her and Harry in August. It was mostly about Meghan, but covered a bit of Harry too. And there were a lot of poking at them a lot, and basically almost to a certain extent making fun of them, that they had in their office, they had these two chairs at one table as if they were thrones, and very much sharing weird stories about Meghan, that she was making guttural noises at times. She was trying to get into bouncy houses with children. And so there was just a lot of very weirdness. So since then, things have basically all been removed from their house. They couldn't even do their Netflix interviews in their own home. They had to double the price of the house that they went to and filmed there. So the house that they actually filmed at was $30 million. And again, why? It just doesn't make a ton of sense. And so Harry and Meghan have been in this weird bubble right now, whereas Harry's memoir has sold exceedingly well, and to a certain extent their documentary has been well watched. However, public sentiment has deeply, deeply turned against them. So people are reacting so entirely negative to them that I think they backed away specifically Meghan in part because she didn't want to be associated with the toxic brand that is Harry and his frozen frostbitten penis. So she was like, well, we'll stay over there. But apparently when Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi send them an invitation, they can't wait to go. And what's really fascinating is that people wondered, and somebody asked me to do a video on this, and I'm like, I don't know if there's enough to do this, but that apparently Oprah Winfrey recently had a birthday party which had a ton of A-list celebrity guests. So here are some of those who were there. So we have Kim Kardashian and Jennifer Lopez, who actually look exactly the same in this picture. Like, it would be difficult to tell them apart. And Heidi Klum was there. We also have Kris Jenner, Alessandra Ambrosio, which I had no clue her and Oprah were friends. Alessandra is a former Victoria's Secret model. She was one of the, I would say, mainstays with Adriana Lima. I think she probably walked the runway the second most times after Adriana Lima, because Adriana Lima walked it for like 20 years. And then we also have Sofia Vergara, Gayle King, obviously. It looks like we had Meghan's former friend, what's her name? Priyanka Chopra. And then it may be Sharon Stone in the background there. We also have, it looks like, what's her name? Cindy Crawford? Rita Wilson. Oh, and Jessica Alba. So it looked like she was there as well. I had no clue her and Oprah were friends. So the upper echelon of Hollywood elite was at this birthday party. And the critical person missing here, you could say in a lot of ways, especially because they're supposedly such close friends, was Meghan Markle. And I chalked it up to, I don't really try to buy into any conspiracy theories or anything, but I just thought, okay, so Meghan is obviously with all the fervor over Harry's book, she doesn't want to be caught in any pictures, and she doesn't want to go to this event that's being, it looks like, put on by Anastasia, who does brows and stuff. It's a brow makeup brand. So I'm like, well, I mean, it's fine. She doesn't go to everything Oprah goes. But then she goes to Ellen DeGeneres' house and Portia de Rossi. And what other A-listers are there? No one. No A-listers are there, except for Harry and Meghan. And I would say a couple years ago, that group would have been packed with celebrities. So according to This Is Us Weekly, some of the celebs she called during quarantine to get videos from, but this could be just from her show, were Adam Levine, John Legend, Chrissy Teigen, Justin Timberlake, Jessica Biel. She also called George W. Bush one time, and then Kristen Bell, Reese Witherspoon, Brad Garrett, Leah Thompson, Jerry O'Connell, a bunch of different people. And so apparently, just looking at Us Weekly, it says Jennifer Aniston has been friends with DeGeneres for years and first publicly supported Aniston at the 1998 premiere of The Object of My Affections. And so they are apparently close. And I mean, there's just a whole lot of other people. Ellen DeGeneres was with Pink when she got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And so she was very much the upper elite. And who can forget Ellen's very famous selfie at the Oscars, which was filled with the upper echelon of Hollywood? Who can forget that? It was probably, I think, one of the most liked pictures on Instagram, I think. Sorry, I think it was on Instagram, not Twitter. And so Ellen DeGeneres very much had this high pillar. But what happened was, as time went on, it came out that actually Ellen is a massive, terrible bully to her staff members. And so because of this, she lost a lot of her support in Hollywood. And I think a lot of Hollywood, they're fair weather friends. They're more acquaintances than anything. And as soon as there's even just a hint of controversy, they back up to infinity and they're out of there. They don't want to deal with you. And so the only other person you could say was there that was very famous was Kris Jenner, who officiated their wedding. And Kris Jenner, to me, is somebody, although she is now, I would say, considered pretty much A-list, she still has that feeling of somebody who still is, to a certain extent, a bit desperate for acceptance, because the Kardashians, although they are still huge, they go to a lot of these parties anymore. They're welcome at the Met Gala, which they weren't for many years. That in some measure, Kris is just still desperate for that validation from this Hollywood elite that most of the time probably wouldn't have given her the time of day without her enormously wealthy children. So looking at Kris Jenner there, and then Harry and Meghan, I think the reason Harry and Meghan are there is that that's the only invite they're getting anymore. It's from somebody who was also formerly A-list. Because who is not coming around Harry and Meghan anymore? It's not Beyonce. It's not George and Amal Clooney. It's not all these people that I think Harry and Meghan thought would be just groveling at their feet to get their attention. Because once you leave the monarchy, the power of the monarchy leaves with you. So what I mean by that is the monarchy is much like a solar system. The star is the crown. The crown itself is the star. And the further out you get in terms of planets who are circling the star, the less obviously the sunlight shines on you, so the less the crown light shines on you. And so Harry and Meghan, for a while they were, I think, Mars, and now they're technically Earth. And royal wives technically revolve around their royal spouse, because at the end of the day, the power always resides with the crown. No, is that right? No. Anyways, so yeah, because Will is now Mercury. I guess technically Harry would be Venus in terms of working royals. It would go back, though, to go for William, George, Charlotte, Louis. Anyways, you get my drift. But Harry and Meghan have gone from being in the inner solar system to the outer solar system. And they thought they could take that star, that light of the crown, and take that with them to Hollywood, that it would just transplant and it's totally fine. But what they're finding is that's not the case, is that they're desperate still for that Hollywood validation, and Hollywood isn't giving it to them. And when you betray your family, your deepest, closest bonds, when you betray that trust, as it turns out, other people don't trust you quite as much. Because if you're willing to throw your own family under the bus, that means you're willing to throw them under the bus too, if it's convenient for you. And Hollywood people are not idiots, most of them. Some of them are, but some of them are not. So this idea that Harry and Meghan think they could just trash the entire royal family and have the whole of Hollywood come around them and support them, I think that was a little bit of a gamble that hasn't paid off. In addition to that, Meghan is no Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly was a fabulous actress. She did, I think, 11 films, married when she was 26, won an Oscar, and then went to Monaco and never acted again. Grace Kelly is an icon. She was a great actress. Her and Dial M for Murder and Rear Window. Rear Window, the fashion is fabulous. If you've never seen it, it's and then she has probably the greatest close-up shot of any actress, I think, ever. And then you also have Dial M for Murder. I'm not as big a fan of To Catch a Thief, but I love Dial M for Murder and how Hitchcock, I think, to a certain extent, is at his best in a very, very contained environment. And that's what Dial M for Murder is. It pretty much entirely takes place in the confines of an apartment. Like they walk out briefly and then go back in, but the entire plot basically occurs around one apartment. He's done this a couple of times in Rope and also in Lifeboat. If you've never watched Alfred Hitchcock movies, you really, really should. Rear Window, Dial M for Murder with Grace Kelly, fabulous. You also have Vertigo. You have Psycho, obviously. You know, there's Notorious, Spellbound. I like The Trouble with Harry. I've watched that film one time and it was really funny. And The Man Who Knew Too Much with Jimmy Stewart. There's this great bit with him in Couches, which I thought was brilliant. It was a great bit of physical comedy. Meghan is not a great actress. She's just not. Just saying that flat out, she's not a great actress. In addition to not being a great actress, I don't think she's a great creative either. Because to me, and she said this in her own documentary series, her own high school teacher, elementary school teacher, pulled out a yearbook Meghan had given to her and written in, and where she said, when I am rich and famous, I'll come back and say and tell everybody how great the school is. Now, the problem with that is that if you just want to be rich and famous, if you're not passionate about the craft, you'll do anything to be rich and famous. Meghan got her rich and famous by marrying well. That's how she got it. She was moderately successful on Suits. I think she paid Sunshine Sacks up the wazoo to promote her. And so looking at all of this together, I think what's really, really fascinating to me is that Meghan, I think people are finding out that she's not that talented and she's not that creative. And I think that's really hitting people, especially because Harry and Meghan made the cardinal mistake, I think, of making their brand solely bashing the monarchy. They have no other brand beyond bashing the monarchy. Nothing else. Nothing else in the world that they've done is more impactful at this point than they're bashing the monarchy. So that's their brand. And now they're trying to switch over to romantic comedies. That's another video. Meghan and romantic comedies. And her creating one, isn't that terrifying? They just been unable to be successful in Hollywood, partially, I think, just because people are like, I saw what you're selling in the documentary, and then you really did become a punchline on Jimmy Kimmel with your frostbitten penis. We're not that interested. And Hollywood elite are very much, I feel like aristocratic circles to a certain extent. Once you get into that upper A-list status, they are a tight group. They don't blab on each other, generally. They are people who protect each other because they know the stresses that their life is under. In addition to that, they value their privacy, they value other people's privacy, and so they don't share details about each other. I'm sure there are wild things that go on at the Vanity Fair party that we have no idea about, or any of these parties that we don't know about. And honestly, I think Hollywood in a lot of ways is very much a cesspool because they were all aware of what Harvey Weinstein was doing. Yes, they were. They were all entirely aware of what that guy was doing. But he got them roles, he got them money, so they just ignored it. They're like, oh, we won't deal with this messy bit over here. Harry and Meghan, I feel like, are falling in the same category. They have not established themselves yet as creatives. And because they haven't done that, Hollywood's not that interested in them. Until they can prove that they can bring a product to fruition, I think that's going to be a constant problem for them. Because at this point, I don't think A-listers are all that interested. And so when you look at that party, all I could think was, Harry and Meghan, oh, they're desperate for the validation and attention that they can get in Montecito. And the only people who will invite them are Ellen and Portia, who both unfortunately have struggled against the bullying allegations made and leveled against Ellen DeGeneres. So that has really, I think, pulled down everything. So when they got that invitation to Ellen and Portia's, I'm sure they were delighted because they needed something to do. They don't have anything to do. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants them. And we've gotten, again, indications that they're going to go to the coronation. I think they are. They have nothing else. And we've also gotten indications, which may be another video too, that Netflix is pushing more and more Keeping Up with the Sussexes. They want a reality TV show inside their house. Because at this point, anything else Harry and Meghan are selling, they don't know if it will work. They have no idea at this point. Without Harry and Meghan trashing the royals, which is why Netflix signed them up, why Spotify signed them up, why their publisher signed them up, there's not really much of a future there. And so unless Harry and Meghan can really prove that they're creatives they think they are, I definitely don't think Harry is, and I think Meghan isn't really either. Because when your sole focus is money, leaves a lot to be desired. And I think everybody else in Hollywood is well aware of that. So they keep their distance. They really do try to keep their distance from the Sussexes. And Harry and Meghan, why they have nobody else to blame but themselves. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.